Nintendo and emulation discussions are always very interesting for me to have on this channel because Nintendo has kind of brainwashed an entire generation to think that the word emulator, that an emulator in and of itself is a bad thing, even though if you're playing Nintendo Switch Online, NES or SNES or N64 games, those are actually being done via emulation. But Nintendo has instilled this mindset, especially in their fan base, about emulation being the ultimate evil thing. And we've seen this situation happen time and time again. Now, of course, it does vary from system to system. Recently, we saw that Retro Game Core made a video talking about Wii U emulation on Android devices. Now, this was something that was new, even though Wii U emulation has been around for a very long time, and Nintendo felt the need to copyright strike a Wii U emulation video that they put up. Something showing off a system, showing off a game library that can no longer be purchased for a benefit of Nintendo. None of that money goes to Nintendo. Everything is on the secondary market. But they felt the need to strike that video. And of course, we had the whole Yuzu situation that happened earlier this year, or actually it was last year with Yuzu. But that's when it kind of started out. Of course, there was a settlement of $2.5 million. Yuzu had to turn over all the assets over to Nintendo. But the Yuzu situation was a bit more interesting because there was money happening with that. That was their downfall, I feel, is that they had a Patreon. They were collecting money. They were distributing ROMs to certain members of the community and stuff like that. They definitely dipped their toe a little bit too far into the deep end of the pool, and there was a shark waiting to bite their toe off. So I kind of understand that. But with this situation that just happened with Ryu Jinx, man, there's a lot of things I want to say about this. So yesterday afternoon, Ryu Jinx, which is a Nintendo Switch emulator that I've actually shown off on this channel. It's actually my most viewed video of all time, over 1 million views. So thank you guys for watching that video. But Ryu Jinx has now ceased development. The lead developer was pressured by Nintendo of America into shutting down the project. All downloads and the GitHub repositories have been removed. So then this is kind of the information on the situation here. Yesterday, I don't know why I said GDK Chan was contacted by Nintendo and offered an agreement to stop working on the project, remove the organization, and all the related assets he's in control of. While awaiting confirmation on whether or not he would take the agreement, the organization has been removed, so I think it's safe to say that what the outcome is. Rather than you leave and with only panic and speculation, I decided to write this short message to give some closure. These words are my own. I don't speak for anyone else here. Just remember that while reading. Thank you to everyone who distributed code, documentation, or issue reports to the project. Thank you all for following us through the development. I was able to learn, this is kind of interesting. I was able to learn a lot of really neat things about games that I love, enjoy them with renewed qualities and in unique circumstances. And I'm sure you all have experiences that are similarly special. I'm extending my own massive thanks to our moderation team who have been here through some rough circumstances and always found ways to make light of it. So Ryu Jinx, which was the second biggest Nintendo Switch emulator, is now done. They are no longer advancing this. Now, there are a lot of things I want to say about this. Now, the first and foremost thing is going to be the question of, is Nintendo in the right? And honestly, I think I can say no. Unless there is something we don't know about this, an emulator in and of itself is not illegal. I don't understand how many times I need to say that. I don't know if I need to get other people that speak other languages to come on and also say this so that everyone potentially watching this video can understand. But an emulator in and of itself is not illegal. It's what you do with the emulator that ends up getting into deeper waters. Now, I do understand the fact that Nintendo is probably not happy with this because this is their main system, their flagship system, the only system that they have right now, that being the Nintendo Switch. But when they're also attacking legacy systems, like we've seen with the Retro Core situation, like it makes it a little bit harder to digest because it's like, well, do you actually care about it being the Switch, or do you just care that it's an emulator that exists for a platform that you have? Because no matter how you slice it up, there's no justification for getting angry about an emulator for something like the Wii U. But this is something that really expands way beyond it. I understand it is a gray territory. I do understand that this is Nintendo's main system, so they want to make all the money that they can out of it. I get that. Okay? I might not like it. I might not agree with it from a legal standpoint, but I get it. Nintendo can stifle any of these individuals when it comes to financial things because they could drag out a court situation. And I'm sure the people who make Ryujinx aren't going to be prepared to go to war with that sort of thing. But here's the question that I always have with this is why Nintendo is not addressing the root problem of this. Because they're not. Ryujinx, Yuzu, they've been around for a very long time, for literally years, but now all of a sudden we've waken up to this. And it's like, well, how did we get in this situation in the first place? Why does it seem like Nintendo is the company that is always having issues with piracy? You don't hear about this with the PlayStation 5. You don't hear about this with the Xbox Series X. Those systems are fine. There is no emulation. Hell, look at PlayStation 4 and Xbox One emulation. That is finally getting figured out right now. Finally. They're finally making progress on stuff like that. Years and years and years, over a decade after the system has released. But with the Nintendo Switch, there was emulators for this. There was people running these games on their computer pretty much at the start of the system. So when is Nintendo going to address piracy in-house? To take measures so that, hey, this won't work on a 10-year-old computer. This won't work on a mini PC. This won't work on your Steam Deck or your ROG Ally or anything like that, because that has to be somewhat of a pressing issue. And of course, you have the whole fact that games run better via emulation than they do on Nintendo's own hardware. If you have a somewhat decent PC, you can run all the Zelda games that have all these technical performance issues. Games like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Link's Awakening, Echoes of Wisdom, Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity. You can run them at a higher frame rate, at a consistent frame rate. You can run them at a higher graphical output resolution. Once again, none of these other companies have that problem. And now we kind of get into a gray area because I have purchased Echoes of Wisdom. I own the game. I gave you money for the game. If I decided to dump that and play it on my PC, as emulators are intended to do, and I could get a better experience for it, how can you get mad at me for this? You are the ones that are not addressing the root of the problem when it comes to emulation, when it comes to how these games get dumped. Who is dumping these games? Once again, you have to take and I'm not trying to dogpile on Nintendo here, okay? Because people are gonna defend the billion-dollar company. I'm not trying to dogpile on them. I get it, okay? I get it. But the fact that it's instead cutting off the head of the Hydra instead of figuring out why the Hydra exists and why the Hydra keeps popping up and trying to take steps in order to stop that, like that to me is the problem. That to me is the root of the issue. If you were to take steps to make it so that games don't run on every device under the sun, then I think people would take it more seriously. But the fact that you don't do that, it shows me, like, where do your priorities lie with this? And it's a shame. It's a shame because these are the type of things that end up happening. And I you know what? I'm not even as mad with this as I was with the Retro Game Core situation, because that's a freaking legacy system. There is no justification for that. And if you are justifying that, you're an idiot. Like, point blank, period. But with this, I can understand Nintendo's issues with it completely. Like, it makes sense. You are potentially losing out on game sales. You get into that whole argument of if someone is going to pirate something, did they plan to buy the game in the first place? The whole Metallica versus Napster situation, if you're old enough to remember that, how it was going to ruin the game industry, the music industry, as Metallica is sitting in their multiple mansions and stuff like that. It definitely really hurt them at the end of the day. But it's just a situation where it's like, I don't like it because you're not addressing the root of the problem. You're not addressing the root of the situation, which is an internal issue. an internal issue of where your games are able to run on dated PCs and other handheld devices, and at most times run even better than they do on your own native hardware. That is the main issue. That is something that needed to be addressed years ago, but you didn't do it. And that's something that needs to be addressed in the future, because many people think that this is a sign that Nintendo Switch 2 is going to have backwards compatibility and potentially a similar architecture. And if we go into this next generation with this same problem, do you really care about it? Or do you just care about shutting down emulators? There are ways to do this. The PC figured it out, but you guys can't? Come on, Nintendo. Come on. You can focus a little time and effort into figuring out how your games manage to run on old dated hardware better than they do on your own hardware. And that's why people are gravitating towards that. Because damn, Echoes of Wisdom, I wish that the Switch version ran well. But hey, you can get 4K 60 on a PC already. I want to know your guys' thoughts on this, though. Obviously, it's a very polarizing topic with some people celebrating this. Go billion-dollar company. Like, they don't pay you, dog. Unless they do pay you. If they do pay you, secure the bag. But I don't think they pay you. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Hit the bell as well. Give me your thoughts in the comment section down below. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.